Welcome back to Book Club Preview. I'm Michael, and today we're looking at Body in the Library, Chapter 7 and 8. In Chapter 7, it starts off with motive, okay? And we're getting a long list of names here, so I need some to remind me. Colonel Melchett, Chief Inspector, and Superintendent Harper are talking after the interview with Mr. Jefferson. And they say, oh man, maybe now we have a motive why two people would want to kill Ruby. So far, we have no idea why someone would want to do that. But even though they mention that this could be a motive for Mrs. Jefferson and Mr. Gaskell, they say it's probably not likely. So they move on to other reasons why. Maybe a boyfriend. Maybe she had someone that she didn't tell anyone about, that she was romantically involved with. So they don't know, but they're maybe trying to find some motive. As they're walking around the hotel, let's see here, George Bartlett comes up, and he's kind of the guy that's, well, I think, maybe, and he says, excuse me, gentlemen, this might be, this is, very inconvenient, I'm sorry, but really, you see, they're like, what is it? And he says, my car's missing. And like, when did it start missing? And Mr. Bartlett doesn't know anything. He can't give any information. I never park it. I didn't see it for a while. I can't remember the last time I saw it. I don't know how long it's been gone, but I just noticed now that it's gone. And they're like, what can you tell me about the car? Well, it's this one certain model, something 14, I guess. And they're like, okay, we'll look for it. It could be related. And he's like, okay, thank you, bye. I guess, maybe, hopefully, I hope it's not. And then he leaves. And then it goes to part 3 in chapter 7, which is Inspector Slack. And Inspector Slack is doing his work. He's so passionate. The house cleaners and the other ladies working there are probably like, oh, frightened because he really burned into them. But he's investigating Ruby's room, and they mostly find nothing. There's no fingerprints. There's no romantic letters. There are some like magazine clips and things like that. There are a few letters from her old friends, but nothing really important. There seems to be one boy that Ruby was getting kind of close with in the other town she lived in, but now she's gone. He's found some other girl. Maybe there's one. I think it was an employer that really liked Ruby because she was a hard worker, and now that Ruby's gone, it's inconvenient for him, and he has to find a replacement. Maybe some things like that, but nothing really, really worthwhile. We do see though that where Ruby's room is, it's perfect to not be seen. It's perfect for someone to come in and someone to go out without other people noticing. And so if Ruby left, or if someone came in, or if she had a boyfriend or whatever, it'd be almost impossible to know because the positions and the shadowing of the room. Well, the chief inspector and Superintendent Harper, I can't remember who they're talking with, but someone mentions Raymond Starr. And Raymond Starr is the film guy. Right? So, there was a film guy that Ruby was talking with that he met a few times. Oh, who's this guy? Well, he never stayed at the hotel, but he'd come in for lunch sometimes. And we figure out that it's Raymond. Okay, so now we have this connection back, I think, in like chapter 3 or whatever, where this guy in the movie industry is meeting a bunch of girls and things like that. So maybe there's a connection. We don't know yet. And at the end of that, we find that there is a burnt car found in the countryside. That there was a car and it's the same car that George Bartlett is missing, and we can think maybe this is the car. Maybe there's a connection here. But one of the other policemen found the car and looked at it, and they don't know what number car it is, but they know it's the same model as the one that Mr. Bartlett lost. Chapter 8, Sir Henry Clithering. If you read the first Miss Marple book, you might know this gentleman. It's the first time I've encountered him, but in the first book, I guess he was one of the people that encountered Mrs. Marple. He thinks Miss Marple's awesome. Mr. Jefferson calls Sir Henry and says, Henry, you got to come over here immediately. Henry's like, man, what? Mr. Jefferson's not someone to do something spontaneously. This must be important. Mr. Jefferson fills him in. But then Sir Henry says, hey, look, don't worry, because you're not even going to need me. There is a master detective right now in the lobby of this hotel, and she's going to take care of everything. And Mr. Jefferson doesn't quite understand, but we understand it's Miss Marple. And so in part 2, Sir Henry and Miss Marple come together, and Sir Henry, I guess, is a wonderful gentleman. He's a perfect gentleman, a great guy, very handsome, but very proper, very respectful. And Miss Marple gets a little bit, Sir Henry, right? She's a little excited to see him because he's such a great guy. Well, as they're talking, they're trying to get some ideas, and Miss Marple's like, I don't know much, and Sir Henry's like, well, okay, let me tell you everything I know. And he says, do you have any ideas? And Miss Marple says, I have a few. And she says, I think probably what happened is Mr. Jefferson was lonely. Maybe his kids, his in-laws, right, his son-in-law and daughter-in-law, they probably want to get married again. We don't know if they want to get married to each other. That was a suggestion I had. But maybe they want to get married again. They want to continue on with their life. But now they're kind of stuck with Mr. Jefferson because of this tragedy. They're all three stuck together. They probably want to get out. But they want to get out and they can't. And they might be showing some resentment or less sympathy to Mr. Jefferson. And Mr. Jefferson feels even more lonely. So then when he sees Ruby, he sees this opportunity to feel important. And Mrs. Marple and Sir Henry call this the Cophetua complex. Cophetua is an old story that an African king falls in love with a maid. And so they kind of fall in love and have a quiet life. And Miss Marple gives these different examples of these older men that are kind of lonely, and this young cleaning woman comes in, or this governess comes in, and then they end up kind of treating her like a daughter. It doesn't have to be weird, it doesn't have to be strange, but it's just like this affection like a daughter, because then they feel more important and special. And Miss Marple says, I think this is probably what happened to Mr. Jefferson, and this is probably just the case. Nothing special, nothing great about Ruby, just probably a lonely guy and a nice girl. And they're trying to figure out what the truth of it might be. And one thing that Sir Henry says, he's like, Miss Marple, you can just boil everyone down to their greatest common denominator, which is all these millions of people. You can just really see that there's 12 different people. Oh, you're like this person. Oh, you're like this person. All you guys are similar. And Sir Henry's actually feeling a little offended. And then he's like, is there anyone like me that you think matches people in your town? And Miss Marple said, oh, yes, of course. He's like, who is it? She's like, well, there was this gardener. He was incredible. He did more than anyone could imagine. He was respectable, worked hard. He won first place in a lot of things. And he was an incredible man. And Sir Henry's like, oh, shoot. That's actually a lot like me. Not that he thinks himself is incredible, but the activities that Miss Marple describes are the same as Sir Henry. So he's like, okay, maybe you are right. And now, towards the end, there is some truth that we finally get told as they're kind of talking together. So Sir Henry, he gets a dose of truth of just seeing the world a little bit like Mrs. Marple does. But then also he says, well, okay, what do you think happened? And she said, well, I think there was some misunderstanding between Ruby and some other guy, and they probably weren't planning to, he probably wasn't planning to kill her. I think just something happened, and things just happened and went forward until this event. What that looks like, we don't know yet, but this is Miss Marple's theory. And then Mrs. Bantry comes, so they kind of quit talking. We'll have to see what happens next. Some vocabulary words here I want to go over real fast. One, unscrupulous, means untrusting, devious, not pleasant, and this is describing the son-in-law, Gaskell. Had a row. Okay, this is not rowboat, row. Row is like a fight. They had a fight. Did her in, killed her. Mechanic can say, what's wrong with my car? My car died. Oh, this did her in. Okay, this problem killed her, right? So what did her in? What killed her? Or him, or it, right? Anything. This is a French word, and I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce it right. Cherchez l'homme. Cherchez l'homme? Something like that. Which means find the man, find the woman, find the criminal. It's used in mysteries a lot, of finding the person. Maybe if you watch, or if you read the Pinier, I can't remember the other book series that Miss Marple wrote, which is a Belgian guy. He probably used this expression a lot. Convulsive, sudden, jerky. Okay, this kind of just happens uncontrollably, but it's not controlled very well. It's not smooth. Such a fag putting a car away in a garage. Now this word here, fag, I actually don't even like to say it. These days it's kind of a bad word. These days, fag means someone who's homosexual, right? Two people that are the same gender, that like each other. But it's a way to say that in a really bad way, okay? And the word originally comes from a stick. And when you wanted to start a fire, you needed these small sticks to start the fire and to burn it. Okay, they're useless, they're not important, but they can get the fire started. And then I guess people started to use that word to talk about these other kinds of people, right? These homosexual people. So we don't use this word often nowadays at all, unless it's like a bad word usually. But in this case, in our story, it's completely different, okay? It just means like useless. It's such a bother. It's so troublesome. It's not important. It's such a worthless thing putting a car away in the garage. It's such a unimportant thing putting the car away in the garage. Okay? So he's using this to say it's just like something you throw away that's not important. It's too bothersome to put it in the garage. Okay, so a little context in that word. Quite put out, he is. Put out, and these are both British kind of expressions here. Put out is put in an unfortunate situation. So, like Ruby is working at this other place, she leaves suddenly. The leaders there, the managers or supervisors, suddenly they're missing someone. And now they have this extra responsibility to do something about it. They're kind of put out. They have more trouble because of the situation. Repugnance is like disgusting, gross. Predisposed means you have in your mind an already set pattern of things you like to do or the way you like to think. Just a few more here. Elated, very happy, like you're lifted up. Envisaging is, we don't use this word very much, but envision is imagining, thinking about. Incredulous is like unbelievable. Astute is well respected, wise, smart, can see something and understand it very quickly and easily. And joie de vivre, we might have had this word before, but it's like energy, enthusiasm. Josie has a certain joie de vivre. She has this energy about her as she's connecting people in the hotel. Seance. A seance is when you gather with people and you try to talk to the dead. Can you hear us? We're calling you from beyond the grave. I saw my pencil move. Someone's here. Okay, this is a seance. That leaves me with a discussion question. Do you believe that people are all basically the same? Like maybe there's just like 10 or 20 different kinds of basic people, and we're all just like those basic people? Or do you think maybe we're all different or something else? Of course, please make your own discussion question. That is all the time that we have for today. But thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.